All right, ready to dive into something that can really make or break a company.
Yeah, let's do it.
Undervalued managers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We're going to explore kind of what makes someone a manager and different types of managers you might encounter.
Right.
And most importantly, the red flags that signal they aren't getting what they need to thrive.
And I think a lot of people listening will probably be like, oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I have a feeling you might relate to a few of these.
For sure.
So before we get into the warning signs, let's just define what we even mean by manager.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? It's more than just having a title. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like manager on your business card.
It's definitely more than a title. It's a responsibility.
Right.
And it's a really critical one in a company. A manager is really somebody who guides a team, creates a really productive and positive atmosphere, helps develop their team members, and acts as a bridge between like the employees and then, the higher level management.
So they're juggling a lot of roles at once.
They are.
Coach, mediator, strategist.
Yeah, all of that at the same time.
No wonder they need the right support.
And the type of support that a manager needs is going to vary depending on the level of management we're talking about.
Oh, that's a good point.
You have your top-level managers like CEOs who are really focused on that big picture strategy. And then you have your middle managers who are the ones who are taking that strategy and figuring out, okay, how do we actually implement this?
Making it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Making it happen within their departments and their teams.
Right. And those first-line managers.
Yes.
Those folks who are working directly with the employees, overseeing their day-to-day tasks and making sure everything is moving smoothly.
Yeah, they're really on the front lines.
Yeah, they really are.
And so they're often the first to feel the strain when management is undervalued.
That's where those warning signs start to pop up.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's the first red flag that an organization might be undervaluing its managers?
So the first one is what I call drowning in admin.
Drowning in admin. Okay.
Yeah, and this is when your managers are just bogged down with paperwork, meetings, all these administrative tasks.
Endless to-do lists.
Yes.
And it leaves them with no time for actual leadership.
Exactly. And that's the problem. You're taking your managers and instead of having them actually manage and lead,
Right.
they're just pushing papers.
I've definitely experienced this firsthand.
Yeah.
I had a manager once who was so swamped with reports, emails, you name it, that he barely had time to connect with our team.
Oh, wow.
Let alone, provide guidance or feedback.
It's like he was managing spreadsheets instead of people.
It really was. It felt like that.
Yeah, and that's a classic example.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly detrimental to a company. When your managers are drowning in admin, they can't effectively coach their team members, they're not able to address their concerns, or foster a positive work environment.
So that everyone suffers.
Everyone suffers, yeah.
The manager burns out, and the employees feel neglected.
Exactly.
Almost like setting them up to fail, isn't it?
It is.
Giving them this leadership role, but then burying them in tasks that prevent them from actually leading.
Exactly. And that kind of leads into the second sign, which is recognition. Recognition. And this one's a biggie.
It is a big one.
This is when a company consistently overlooks the contributions of its managers. Like they're just not seeing them.
And it sends this message
Yeah.
that they're not valued.
Right. Like, why are you even here? We don't even notice you.
Right.
And, have you ever been on a team where the manager is going above and beyond, hitting all the targets?
Keeping everything running smoothly?
Yes. Doing all the things, and then their efforts are just taken for granted?
Like they're invisible.
Totally invisible.
Yeah.
And, I think most of us have experienced that at some point in our careers.
Definitely.
And it's incredibly demoralizing, not only for the manager themselves,
Right.
but for the entire team. It can lead to just decreased motivation.
Resentment.
Yeah, resentment, even higher turnover.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the person leading the charge isn't feeling appreciated, why should anyone else bother putting in the extra effort?
Right. It makes you think, why even try?
Why even try?
Yeah. Yeah, and it creates this kind of sense of apathy that can permeate the whole team.
Exactly. And this lack of recognition, I think, comes from this fundamental misunderstanding of what good management actually entails. Which brings us to the third sign.
Okay.
No training wheels.
What does that mean in the context of managing a team?
It's basically like you're promoting people into management roles without giving them the skills and the training they need to actually succeed.
So you're throwing them in the deep end?
Yeah, you're throwing them in the deep end with no life preserve.
Or setting them up for a crash?
Exactly.
Because leading a team effectively requires a very specific skill set, right?
It does.
Communication, conflict resolution,
Delegation.
performance management, all that stuff.
All of that and more.
And those skills don't just magically appear because someone's really good at their individual job. Right, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, it's a whole other ballgame.
Managing people.
Right, and so without that training, those managers, they're left floundering, making mistakes.
And a whole team suffers.
So it's a recipe for frustration, burnout, and a whole lot of missed targets.
Yeah, it can really set everyone back.
And this lack of support often leads to our fourth sign,
Yes.
the revolving door of managers.
The revolving door, yep.
High turnover rate among managers, a huge red flag.
Yeah, definitely a sign that something's broken.
Yeah, it suggests that there's a deeper issue with the organization's culture, how they treat their leaders.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like they say, people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
It's true.
And if managers are constantly coming and going,
Right.
it creates this instability and uncertainty for everyone.
Yeah, imagine constantly having to adjust to a new manager,
Right.
a new leadership style.
New expectations.
It's exhausting, and it makes it so hard to build a cohesive team.
It makes it hard to get anything done, you know? And then finally, we have our fifth sign,
Okay.
lost in the woods.
Lost in the woods, yeah.
This is when managers are left without any clear guidance expectations.
So they don't even understand how their role fits into the bigger picture.
Yeah, they're just kind of wandering around in the dark.
They're left guessing about their priorities, what success even looks like.
Right.
It's incredibly frustrating, demotivating.
Extremely. And that lack of clarity trickles down to the entire team.
Yeah, if the manager's lost, how can they possibly guide their team effectively?
They can't. And it just creates confusion, inefficiencies, and a general sense of what are we even doing here?
Right, it's like being given a treasure map, but the X marking the spot keeps moving.
Exactly.
You never know if you're on the right track.
So we've identified these 5 pretty major signs
Yeah.
that an organization might be undervaluing its managers.
Drowning in admin, lack of recognition, no training, high turnover, lack of clear direction.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it paints a pretty bleak picture.
It does, but the good news is it's a solvable problem.
Okay, good.
And one of the simplest, most effective ways to start addressing these issues is something called a self-assessment for managers,
Okay.
paired with regular one-on-one feedback meetings.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's dive deeper into those solutions in part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back.
Before the break, we were talking about some of those signs that your organization might be undervaluing its managers.
Yeah, those 5 warning signs.
And they were pretty eye-opening, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But you mentioned some solutions, and I'm curious to hear more about those.
Yeah.
What exactly is a self-assessment for managers?
So a self-assessment is basically a structured way for managers to reflect on their own performance, identify areas where they're doing great, and then also areas where they might need more support.
Okay.
It's kind of like taking a personal inventory
Okay.
of their skills, their challenges, and just their overall job satisfaction.
So it's not just about pointing fingers at the organization.
Yeah.
It's about encouraging managers to take ownership and understand their own needs.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And the nice thing about a self-assessment is that it can be really tailored
Okay,
to the specific organization and even the individual manager's role.
got it.
You know, it could include questions about their effectiveness in leading and motivating their team, how comfortable they are with all those administrative tasks, how confident they feel providing feedback, or even just thinking about their own work-life balance.
So it sounds like a great way to get managers thinking critically about their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah,
But how does that actually translate into actionable change?
that's where those one-on-one feedback meetings come in.
Okay.
So after the manager completes the self-assessment, they sit down with their own supervisor
Got it.
and they discuss the results very openly and honestly.
So creating that safe space to voice concerns, celebrate accomplishments,
Exactly.
get feedback without feeling judged.
Yeah, and these meetings shouldn't be seen as like a performance review or anything. It's more of a collaborative effort to figure out some solutions
Okay.
and just create a more supportive environment for the manager.
They're saying, hey, we recognize you're a valuable asset to this company,
Yeah,
and we want to make sure you have everything you need to succeed.
exactly.
I love that.
And the topics that are discussed in these meetings can vary a lot depending on what comes up in that self-assessment.
Makes sense.
So, for example, if a manager is feeling overwhelmed with admin tasks,
Yeah.
they could talk to their supervisor about maybe delegating some of those responsibilities or streamlining certain processes.
Or if they're feeling unsure about how to handle a particular team dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
maybe brainstorm strategies, explore mentorship.
Exactly. It's about providing that tailored support
Okay.
based on what that individual manager needs. And it's also important to use these meetings to celebrate the wins.
Right, because we talked earlier about how crucial that recognition is,
Yeah.
not just for motivation, but for the whole company culture.
It's huge. So these meetings are a chance to say, hey, here's what's working well. Let's reinforce these positive behaviors.
Right.
And just remind those managers that their contributions are valued.
So it's not just about fixing problems, it's about that positive feedback loop.
Totally.
Where managers feel supported, motivated, empowered to do their best.
Exactly.
Now, how often should these meetings be happening?
That's key. It shouldn't be just a once-a-year thing.
Right.
It needs to be an ongoing dialogue, at least quarterly, but ideally, even monthly check-ins would be great.
Because the more frequent those conversations are,
Yeah.
the more likely managers are to feel comfortable bringing things up.
Right, before those small issues become bigger problems.
Yeah, exactly.
It just creates this culture of open communication
I like that.
where managers feel heard, supported, and able to share their thoughts without judgment.
And ultimately, that benefits everyone.
Everyone, yeah. When managers feel supported, they create a more positive and productive environment for their teams, which leads to a more successful company overall.
It's like a ripple effect.
Totally.
You invest in your managers, and that positive energy flows outward, impacting every level of the organization.
Exactly.
So self-assessments, regular one-on-one feedback, it's a win-win for everyone.
It is.
It's about creating a system where managers feel valued, supported, and empowered, and that ultimately benefits the entire company.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that good management isn't just a nice to have.
Right.
It's essential for a thriving, successful workplace.
Now, while these are a fantastic starting point, I'm wondering if there are any other things organizations can do
Oh, yeah.
to further demonstrate their commitment to supporting their managers.
Absolutely. There are so many ways to create a culture that values and prioritizes the development and well-being of its leaders.
And we're going to explore those in the final part of our deep dive.
That come back.
To our deep dive, we're talking about those managers.
Yeah, those often overlooked but so essential managers.
We've talked about how important they are in any organization, the different levels, and most importantly, the signs that they might not be getting the support they need.
Right, and those 5 warning signs.
Those were pretty eye-opening. It's amazing how often these issues can just go unnoticed.
It really is. But the good news is, we talked about some really practical and effective solutions in the last segment, starting with those self-assessments.
Those self-assessments and the regular one-on-one feedback meetings.
Exactly. And those are a fantastic foundation for creating a more supportive environment. But I'm glad you asked because there are so many other things organizations can do.
Yeah, I was going to say, what else? What else can they do to really show those managers they're valued and invested in their success?
Well, one really powerful approach is to offer some leadership training programs.
Oh yeah, training.
Yeah, specifically tailored to the needs of their managers.
Right.
These programs can provide really valuable skills in communication, conflict resolution, delegation, performance management.
All those essential tools.
All those essential tools for effective leadership.
Because let's face it, not everyone's just a natural-born leader.
That's right.
Some folks need a little guidance and support, and that training, it shows that real commitment to their growth.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be just formal training programs either.
Okay.
Mentorship and coaching, those can be incredibly valuable too.
Yeah, love that.
Pair a newer manager with someone who's got more experience within the organization. That can offer invaluable insights, support, and guidance.
Creates that sense of community and shared learning.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're here to support each other every step of the way.
And speaking of support, it's also super important to create those clear career paths
Yes, absolutely.
for those who aspire to leadership roles, right?
Totally.
If someone's consistently showing that leadership potential, the organization needs to have a plan in place to nurture that
Right.
and provide those opportunities for advancement.
It shows them you believe in them.
Exactly. Shows them you're invested in their long-term growth and you recognize that good managers are essential to your success.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the power of recognition.
Right, we touched on that a little bit earlier.
We did, but it bears repeating. A simple thank you can go such a long way.
Yeah, a thank you, public acknowledgement of their hard work, even just a small token of appreciation.
It makes them feel valued and appreciated.
Right, because those little things, they make a big difference.
They really do. And it's not just about acknowledging their successes, it's also about creating that work environment where managers feel empowered to make decisions, take risks, lead their teams with confidence.
Right. It's like saying, hey, we trust you.
Yeah.
We believe in you. We know you can do great things.
That trust and empowerment, it can be incredibly motivating.
It really can.
It can lead to amazing results.
So creating that supportive environment for managers, it's not just about fixing problems.
No.
It's about cultivating a culture
Yes.
of appreciation, growth, and shared success.
It's about recognizing that good managers, they're the heart and soul of any organization.
Yeah, they inspire, they motivate, they guide their teams to achieve those extraordinary things.
And when you invest in their well-being, you're investing in the success of your entire company.
It's a win-win for everyone.
It really is. So for anyone listening who's thinking, okay, this is all great, but where do we even begin? Remember those 5 signs we discussed earlier? Those red flags?
Yeah, pay attention to those.
Yeah, pay attention to them and start asking questions.
Talk to your managers.
Right?
Observe the dynamics within your teams and think about what steps your organization can take to create a more supportive and empowering environment.
Because, like we've explored in this deep dive, valuing your managers, it's not just about making them happy, it's about creating a more productive and engaged.
And ultimately, more successful workplace for everyone.
Exactly. A win for all.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive. We hope you found this insightful and you feel inspired to create some positive change in your own workplace. Until next time, keep diving.